If you're on a fake Agile project, the main thing that everybody at the company is worried about is getting stuff done on time. It's all about efficiency and deadlines. It is not about being flexible and being agile and adapting to what the customer is giving you for feedback. That would be great. Again, that's how Agile is supposed to work, but I'm talking about you're in a situation where that's not true. So, are you working at a company that says they're agile, but you've kind of realized it's complete BS? Or maybe you just hate the term agile software development. You've never been on a team where agile or scrum or any of these terms seem to do anything beneficial whatsoever. Well, I've been in that situation many times, and I did an earlier video on the channel to help you see what fake agile is. And unfortunately, I've realized in the last 5 years of coaching a lot of developers just like you that fake agile is the norm today. More companies are not agile than companies that are. So if you find yourself in this situation, what do? How do you not lose your mind and just completely flip out when you're at a company that says they're agile and yet they're just the complete opposite of it? Well, today I want to share 6 really practical strategies with you to help you cope with this situation. If you're on a project, you want to get off of it and you just can't, maybe you can't find a better job, maybe you love the company you're at, but you just see that their agile practices are just a complete mess, I hope this video really helps you find some peace and actually just do the best you can within your project and not stress about it. And hey, if you are in that situation that you're really stressed out, you're trying to cope with a really broken system and you're wishing you could change it, but you've gotten to that place where you've realized you just really can't, I want to encourage you to consider checking out my Patreon or joining the YouTube membership. These are 2 different ways that you can get access to my private Discord server, and you can meet a lot of other people who have joined it, including my coaching clients and people that have bought courses from me that are helping each other cope with some systemic issues in the software industry today. So if that's you, if you're feeling a little bit alone and you're dealing with some broken agile processes and you'd like a little help beyond this video, consider checking it out. The first thing that you need to do, or at least consider, if you're on one of these software projects and you've come to that harsh realization that it's not agile, for all the terminology people throw around and how confident the management and scrum masters and the CFO and the lead developer is that it's agile, you've realized it's just not, is you just have to let go of any expectation that people are going to get the terminology right. I know this is probably the hardest part of what I'm about to tell you today, so I hope you stick with me through the rest of this episode because there's going to be some really practical things that you can do that will, again, reduce your stress. But the biggest problem that you're going to run into if you don't do this is you're going to try to force change. You're going to try to fix the company and get them to really do Agile properly. And again, if you've watched any of my other episodes on helping a company be agile, it starts at the top. It starts with the way they actually budget and invest in the company. If they don't allocate money in a way to allow the company to adapt to feedback, if it's all based on fixed deadlines and, fixed requirements and fixed commitments, there's nothing agile about it. They can be using Scrum, they can be using Kanban, they can be using every freaking tool under the sun that sounds flexible, but they can't really be agile. And it's all, you've heard the term agile theater. Well, again, if you find yourself at a company like this, the first mindset hurdle that you're going to have to get over is that part of you that wants to correct people and say, hey, that's not actually how user stories are supposed to work in Agile, or that's not really how a burn down chart is supposed to be used, or you know what, you don't really understand story points. Let me educate you. Let me teach you what they really are. If you can come to a place of acceptance, and let me tell you, I know you might be watching this video and going, I refuse to accept what you're telling me, Jamie, and that's okay. This episode is not for everyone. But if you are at that place where you're driving yourself nuts, I really want to encourage you to just stop trying to fix the broken system. That's the first thing you got to do. Before you can do that, before you can do anything else, you got to accept that it's broken and just let go of trying to correct and fix everything. The second thing you can do if you find yourself on a truly fake Agile project is you need to exercise. I know this isn't what you want to hear. Again, I don't make these episodes because they're terribly popular with everybody. I make them because I'm really trying to help you, and sometimes helping you, I got to tell you uncomfortable things. It's uncomfortable to exercise, especially if you're tired, especially if you're under a lot of stress. It's a lot easier to just watch more YouTube videos like mine or entertainment, play a video game, check out, take a smoke, take a drink. Those will give you temporary, relief. But if you want to deal with work day after day after day and have some feeling of joy, some feeling of gratitude for having a job, not take your frustration with this company not truly being agile out on your friends and family, you have to fill your body with the good feelings that come from exercise. And, for me, when I don't exercise and I'm on a truly fake or difficult software project, I have very little patience with people. Every little thing that's wrong with the project that I know, the people leading it don't get drives me nuts. If you want to be able to just rise above that, let that completely pass over you, wash over you, not stress out. You've got to fill yourself up with the endorphins and the serotonin and all the good things that come from exercise, preferably first thing in the day, so that when you're in those meetings and you're hearing people talking and they don't know what the hell they're talking about, it doesn't bother you. You can just cut loose of it and just move on with your life. Get paid, collect the paycheck, do the best you can, and set your eyes on your friends, your family, your hobbies, other things that are important until hopefully you get on a better project or you join a better company. Third thing that you can do that'll really help you cope if you're on a fake Agile project is you need to become what I would call a requirements lawyer. One of the promises of Agile software development is you don't have to write requirements. You just write user stories. It's just a commitment to a conversation. So, don't worry too much about if the requirements are detailed. We just need to know what the customer needs to do. You just do it with a sentence, and then we'll get to building it, and, we'll just figure it out as we go. Hey, that's all great if you got an unlimited budget, if you got management that doesn't expect you to deliver on time, but I'm guessing your management expects you to deliver on commitments. And I did a whole episode earlier in the channel, I'll put a link up there somewhere, where I talked about that a lot of these fake Agile teams would be better off just doing waterfall. That's really what they're doing at the end of the day. Well, one of the things you can learn from waterfall, if you go back and study how waterfall software development was done before Agile came onto the scene, is there were people like business analysts who would write really detailed documentation about exactly what the software needs to do before they'd start building it. Now, why would I suggest you to do this if you're on a fake Agile project? Well, because if you're on a fake Agile project, the main thing that everybody at the company is worried about is getting stuff done on time. It's all about efficiency and deadlines. It is not about being flexible and being agile and adapting to what the customer is giving you for feedback. That would be great. Again, that's how Agile is supposed to work, but I'm talking about you're in a situation where that's not true. So you have to protect yourself from a product manager or, other people coming along at the very end of, let's say, a sprint. Let's say you're doing Scrum and you're about to show, the product manager or whoever, here's what I built over the last 2 weeks. And they go, oh, well, I thought that form was going to do this other thing. And well, you're missing a validation case there. And oh, well, I thought when we uploaded the CSV file, it was going to be formatted like this. If you leave stuff open to interpretation on a fake Agile project, it is inevitable that you're just opening yourself up to basically not delivering to the expectations of the company. So regardless of how agile they say they are, if you're on a truly fake agile project, you got to basically treat your requirements, treat your user stories, your acceptance criteria. And again, I did an episode also about this on the show that I'll put a link to that you can go back and watch or listen to. But you got to treat those like a contract between you and the business, because the main thing is, if you get to the end of your sprint, or if you're doing Kanban, you deliver your task and they come back to you and say, this isn't what I wanted, you can point to the documentation and go, well, here's what we agreed we were going to build. And then do the next suggestion that I'm about to give you. The fourth thing that you really need to do if you're going to cope with these broken, fake agile projects is you need to charge the company for changes. What does this mean? If you want to establish a contract between yourself and the product manager or the scrum master or, the executive team that, hey, here's what we agreed we're going to build. Here's the user stories. Here's the acceptance criteria. Here's the requirements. And they come along and decide to change something, because they probably will. That's just a normal part of software development. Sorry, is people realize they want changes. You can't just absorb that and say, oh, okay, and then just start building it, doing overtime, stressing yourself out, and trying to hit the original deadlines and commitments that the company had. You have to get them to adjust either the deliverable date, let's say they were like, we're going to ship version 1 on, June 14th. Well, if you just came to me with a change, I'm looking at it, and this is going to be 3 days of work or a week worth of work, the last thing you want to do is try to let management or anybody push you into trying to deliver it within the original deadline. You need to negotiate with them and say, hey, I'm willing to introduce this new functionality, but this wasn't here when we agreed to that deadline in June or in May, or, whenever you're shipping that version that feature comes into. So we're going to need to do one of two things. Either we can actually pull some functionality out of the schedule that you wanted before that you're no longer going to get, so we can try to hit that deadline, or we got to extend the deadline and set a new date that we're going to ship. And some of the most frustrating projects I've been on, and some of the saddest stories that I hear from other developers, managers, product managers, QA people, when I'm coaching them online, is when they tell me about how they were pressured as a team to try to hit original commitments that the executives made, even though there was all kinds of new changes that were introduced by a new customer or feedback and things. And at the end of the day, you have to stand up for yourself. You have to demand that, look, this is what we committed to originally. You're changing what we're delivering, so the commitment has to change, period. The fifth thing that you can do to help you cope with fake agile projects and just try to find peace amongst the fact that you're on this unfortunately broken project that's not truly agile is you got to protect your reputation. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how this is different, but this goes right back to the prior point about, making sure you charge for changes to requirements. But the other thing you got to do is, and I've talked about this in many episodes, I'll link to the one I did on estimates. I talk about this in more detail, but any estimates that you give out, you need to buffer them. I know management sometimes will say, hey, just developers, estimate for, the ideal case, let us buffer, we'll buffer before we get, give it further up the chain. You can do that, and they may do that, they may not, but, personal opinion, I think if you're on a fake agile project, it is not agile, it's fake agile, then you need to add your own buffering to cover yourself and protect your overtime, protect your reputation, make sure that when those unexpected, there's some aspect of this technology I'm working with that's more complicated than I thought, and you have to come back and realize it takes more time, you need to have a reservoir of extra time in your estimates to do that. Now, should you buffer 20%, 40%, 300%? Wow, that's a debate that's, way beyond this episode. But the main thing is be careful not to be pressured into committing to like the optimal shortest estimate with some sort of promise that management further up the chain is going to adequately buffer, because then you are basically giving up, the power to them to decide how much flexibility they're giving you. When you, as the developer, if you're watching this and you are a developer, you're the best one to decide that yourself. And the sixth and final thing you can do that will really help you so that you won't be as stressed out if you're on a fake Agile project is you need to come up with your own definition for success on the project. I think many times earlier in my career, I would be on a software project, and especially if you're in a lead position of some sort, like tech lead, this can happen to us. And we start to feel that we are ultimately responsible for the success or failure of the project. And if you're leading a software project, even if you're the best leader possible and you communicate, there are people under you who are humans. They're going to get sick. They're going to make mistakes. There's people above you who are humans. They're going to overpromise. They're going to misunderstand. So if you define whether you did a good job personally on whether or not the project is successful, if that project fails, if there's cost overruns, if you get laid off, if anything bad happens because of this fake Agile project you're on, you're going to then take it personally. You're going to then take it as though you somehow failed. And so what I would recommend instead is if, any project you're on, if you step back and you go, this is not Agile, it's fake Agile. This is a broken project. I don't have a lot of confidence that this project's going to be successful. I'm going to write the best code. If you're a developer, I can. If you're a manager, I'm going to communicate best and make, realistic commitments to the upper management and try to, manage expectations with people and keep communication smooth the best that I can. But I kind of doubt that this thing's going to be successful. Then think about what could you personally take away from this project regardless. Maybe I can't guarantee that this project is going to be successful, but I can actually try to improve on this project at communicating better. Maybe I can use this as an opportunity to try to describe the work that I'm doing, let's say if you're a developer, in non-technical terms better. And that's what I'm going to spend my time. That's what I can control, right? That's what's within my own power. The success of the overall project, I can't control that. If you're a manager, for example, maybe I'm going to practice trying to talk to the engineering team more and understanding like what are they concerned about, what are their worries, and trying to support them in feeling more comfortable that they can be open with you and that you can actually protect them from some of the stuff that may be happening, at higher levels of the project that, frankly would just derail them and they may even quit over. I'm not a big fan of hiding stuff from people on purpose. I think transparency is good to a point, but, at the same time, if you're in management, let's say, and you've got upper management and they have completely unrealistic expectations, they demand whatever the hell they want. They don't care, if there's any complexity found, further down in the company. Obviously, if every single whim and change of the upper management makes it down to every individual developer, that's going to make their life hell. They're not going to be able to actually do anything. And you have to figure out, when's it appropriate to communicate that? When's it not appropriate to communicate that? But basically, and there's a wide variety of things you could do. If you can think about, hey, when this project's going to end at some point, I'm either going to join a different company. If you're a consultant, the contract's going to end. No project lasts forever, right? When you're done with that project, if that project just bombs, it's late, it's a cost overrun, there's any problem with it because it's a fake Agile project, can you still walk away and go, you know what? I did a good job. I committed to that I was going to get better at deployment on this project, and I was going to get us to be able to do, let's say, 3 releases per day to production. And, despite all the issues of the project and how fake the Agile processes were, I actually got that to happen. I was successful with how I defined success going into the project. If you can do that, I think it'll help you so that, if you're one of, again, many of the people that I coach who's on one of these projects that's just fake Agile and it's outside of your control, Don't beat yourself up. Like I said in the first point, stress yourself out trying to change the system and the culture that inherently is broken and the upper management just doesn't support it. Don't beat yourself up over that. Find your own definition of success, lean into it, accomplish it, and pat yourself on the back. And go to the next project and learn something new there. And that way you can look at your career as you go from project to project to project as a successful career because you've been successful with the goals you set. You don't have to let whether you were on project after project after project and those projects failed be a definition of the success of your career. So are you on a project that's fake agile? You've come to that harsh, disappointing conclusion that that's the way it is. Hey, it can be disheartening. I've been there. It can suck, but it sucks worse if you just stress out about it. And you also just convince yourself that there's still something you could do to fix it. Hey, if you're in an agile coach position, that's even sometimes harder. I have people that I coach who've done agile coaching. I've done agile coaching. And sometimes companies pay us to come in, help the company do agile right, and they don't listen to us. No matter how well we try to describe agile and what's the benefit to their business and how it's going to help them profit and how it's going to help them adapt and, be a market leader, they're just too scared. They don't want to do it. And so if you're in that situation, you got to find something to do instead. You got to define your, idea of success, follow these other steps. And I hope you understand in this episode, I'm coming from this and then I'm truly wanting to help you, not just sell you a bunch of, fake platitudes on things you can do that'll make it maybe sound good. Like, oh, I can introduce this practice and that'll make the company agile, when really you're probably not going to do it. It's much better to just accept things the way they are. So I don't know how you feel about this. I don't know what you've done. I don't know if you think these practices are beneficial, but leave me some comments. Until next time, thanks.